It's an overcast day here in Talladega, Alabama. Race number 7 in the chase for the 2009 NASCAR Sprint Cup on one of NASCAR's most notorious racetracks. You see the cars rolling out for what is the beginning of a 90-minute practice here on a Friday afternoon. When we were here back on April 26th, this track lived up to its reputation. Brad Keselowski in the 09, Carl Edwards in the 99. Edwards gets airborne, putting Ryan Newman into the wall and Edwards into the fence. Keselowski went on to record his first NASCAR Sprint Cup victory on the sprawling 2.66-mile super speedway. Jimmie Johnson hoping to spend this weekend in an uneventful way because he comes in here with a points lead, a healthy one of 118 points with just 4 races remaining in the chase. You see his teammates, Mark Martin and Jeff Gordon, his closest competition. Tony Stewart, Juan Pablo Montoya, and Kurt Busch, all more than 1 race behind Jimmie Johnson. That's why they are slowly turning to red. Hi, everybody. Glad you're with us. Steve Burns, Larry McReynolds, and Jeff Hammond. And, you know, Larry, if Jimmie Johnson can get through this race unscathed, he finished 30th here back in April, that trophy, he is well on his way to winning that trophy as the 2009 Sprint Cup champion. But there's more than that story happening here at Talladega.
Well, and we always see it about this time because, as you saw with the graphic there, we really only have 3 to 6 guys that are in contention for this championship. We've got 4 races to go. With the way the NASCAR testing policy falls out, you're not going to fix problems for 2010 waiting to the end of 2009 season. And in that garage area this weekend and this week, and even spinning ahead to Texas next week, a lot of changes going on. Richard Childress Racing, he's made some more crew chief changes. Todd Berry is going to be with Jeff Burton. Doug Randolph comes up from the Nationwide Series with Casey Mears. Scott Miller, who was the crew chief of the 31, he's now the competition director. When you look at Kyle Busch, the 18 team, not happening this week. It will happen at Texas, but announced that Dave Rogers is coming up from the Nationwide Series to work with Kyle in the 18 car, replacing Steve Addington for the final 3 races. And then in the Roush Fenway camp, there's Steve Addington there. He's calling the shots for that group this week. In the Roush Fenway camp, 2 teams that are not even in the chase. The 17 of Matt Kenseth, the 6 of David Reagan, running the F9 Ford engine package for the very first time. And then here's a unique one. We know that Richard Petty Motorsports, they've made the announcement that they're going to Fords with a possible merger with Yates for 2010. Elliott Sadler, the 19 team Wally Rogers, they have a Ford that they are going to race here. They're going back to Dodges for the final 3 races, but a Ford here. So a lot happening in the garage area in a lot of ways.
Jeff, it was also announced today that Lance McGrew is no longer the interim crew chief for Dale Earnhardt Jr. He has been given that position full-time moving forward into 2010. And for a guy like our buddy Elliott Sadler, you say this weekend is a weekend of opportunity.
I really believe so. I mean, everybody wants to kind of like talk about what Talladega brings as far as, we always talk about the big and the fact that anything can happen. What I'm looking at as far as anything can happen in its 40-year history is the fact that we've had 10 first-time winners. And some of them, when you think about guys like Dick Brooks, Lenny Pond, and even like, Brian Vickers, Brad Keselowski, they've only won 1 race, and it was here because of the opportunity this place gives you. And I think this weekend, Steve, because of the fact that Jimmie Johnson, Jeff Gordon, several of these guys that are involved in the chase have got to kind of safety up, make sure they don't get themselves in trouble during the race. It even opens the door more for guys, I think, like Sam Hornish, Marcus Ambrose, A.J. Allmendinger, to name a few, to get that first win here at Talladega this weekend. A great opportunity for these young guys to kind of step up and say, hey, I can run with you if you just give me a chance.
Well, boys are already nose to tail, side by side, and to add to the fun, it's Halloween weekend.
Oh, me, somebody didn't tell me that's the case. Is the moon full, too?
It might as well be.
God.
Let's go to the garage and Wendy Venturini.
And let me guess, you guys are wearing costumes for a special trackside edition this weekend.
Good guess.
No,
Yes,
Larry's company is
of course.
itself.
Well, some tricks in the garage area already early this afternoon. It has to do with the 42 Juan Pablo Montoya. You will see the 42 still in the garage area this morning. Now, this is something we usually see from Jimmie Johnson, crew chief Chackenhouse, and the 48 bunch. However, the 42 and crew chief Brian Patty made the call to sit out the first 10 minutes of this first practice session. They usually head out on the racetrack, but here at Talladega, they wanted things to settle down. So unlike the 48 pulling this move in the garage today, it's the 42 of Juan Pablo Montoya, and Jimmie Johnson is already out on the racetrack early this practice. Bob?
We'll get back to Bob in just a minute. And Larry Mack, Jeff Hammond, I think that's good strategy by Brian Patty because I already can't stand it.
Well, I think you're right, but I think he's got to be careful here. We talked about it being cloudy here at Talladega. What they've got to be a little bit concerned about is they need to get on the racetrack, I think, at least run a couple laps, make sure nothing's bottoming out. They may not want to get caught up in this big three-wide pack we're looking at already. And to me, I think we're getting a real good preliminary view of what's going to happen here come Sunday when they drop the green flag for 500 miles.
I can't take it,
Don't
Larry.
look
They're
at
4
them.
and 5 wide. They're spread out all over the backstretch.
Well, I think I can add to what Brian Patty and that 42 car Montoya are doing. You're only going to see them, what I've been told, in this first practice session only. We have 2 practices. This is an impound weekend. They're only going to run about 10 to 12 laps by themselves. They are not going to get in this pack. That's the same car they had here in the spring. It ran well. Brian said what we're going to do is pull information from the one car of Martin Truex Jr. They do not want to tear that primary car up.
Can you guys believe this? And practice has just started. 3 wide, 4 wide, nose to tail.
But this is what this place kind of brings to the table. And if you're going to learn about your race car, Larry, you know this to be true. You've got to be right in the middle of this group right now to figure out exactly what you got and what your car will do. I know it sounds like a great strategy by Brian Patty and the 42 group, but I think you've got to run in this pack somewhere, sometime to know you got trouble already starting 23 and 4.
What car on the racetrack? It's
yeah.
the Clint Boyer, the 33 BB&T Chevrolet.
But I saw another car smoking besides that. There it is, the 77 car. I thought I saw.
In fact, he's got quarter panel damage on the left rear of that car.
Now, this is what Brian Patty and those guys are trying to avoid, which they've done a really nice job of it, but you've got to run in that pack sooner or later.
Yeah, I think you've got to get out there, but I think what you want to do is let it thin out just a little bit.
Yeah,
you don't necessarily want to be in a pack of 25 cars.
Yeah. Hopefully both these cars are not too seriously damaged. And Clint did a really good job keeping it off the wall, but 77's got some body damage.
On board with Carl Edwards. Edwards makes contact with a 77.
And you know what I think happened, guys? I think the 33 was behind that and saw what happened, and he probably spun because of it. He got some help.
Yeah, that was just a chain reaction. They started stacking up because someone up in the front of the pack got out of the throttle, another car got out, and then eventually nobody did.
And it might have been the 24 of Jeff Gordon up there. All of a sudden, he got up high.
It looked like it was the 17, Matt Kenseth, aboard that car that got into the back of the 33. Another look. See Sorensen in the 43. Jeff Gordon obviously in the 24 to the high side. We'll hopefully have that replay for you in just a minute. So caution come out. There's another look.
Yeah, I'm not sure Matt Kenseth got into Clint Boyer.
Maybe not.
No, it was a white car at the top of the
car that
screen.
was at the top, yeah.
I couldn't really tell who that was.
Again, this is all a product of just a chain reaction. One car getting out of the throttle, and then they just start stacking up.
Hornish into the back of the 00. Looked like Rudiman might have checked up a little bit.
But it looked like because Burton in the 31
Correct.
checked up for some reason.
You see damage to the rear of the 77 car. And folks, this is what illustrates the point we were making about Jimmie Johnson. So much can happen here so quickly.
And looking back again, that looked like it may have been the 96 car of Eric Darnell got in the back of the 33. And again, he's got a lot of it. He doesn't have the experience in this place a lot of guys do. Even though he's run the Truck Series here before, that inexperience may have got him just a little bit of trouble. Bob, what are you seeing from down in the garage area?
Well, Jeff, exactly what you said is what Clint Boyer reported over the radio. He said, somebody just jacked me from behind, and the team told him it was the 96 car. Now, there is a bunch of damage, although it doesn't look super duper bad. when you're at a restrictor plate track where aero comes into play so often. You can see down here, this is where the 96 car actually hit Clint Bowyer before he took a spin. But what is really the problem, you can see the guys looking at the right rear quarter panel. That is wrinkled to pieces right now. His splitter in the front end, I could tell you when he came in, that is jacked up as well, and a bunch of the braces are broken off of that. But the major part of concern for this team right now is that right rear quarter panel, because crew chiefs, you can explain how that air flows over that quarter panel has a lot to do with the handling characteristics of this car. And what is going on right now in the garages, Carl Edwards is over here talking to Clint Bowyer about how everybody just got jacked up.
Bob, let me tell you what they're looking at and they're concerned about. And we see this after the race here on Sunday. These cars get hit in the back so much and so hard, it actually bends the back of the frame down. And what they'll have to be concerned from a NASCAR standpoint is that rear wing that Richard Childress, the owner, is leaning on right there, that it has not been pushed down, because obviously they won't let you run it with that down because it reduces the drag of the car.
It's still going to have to meet the templates, and that's the thing, is that they can try to jack it up. But again, what you're alluding to, Larry, is the biggest concern is the rear clip knocked down enough to mess up the overall airflow on these race cars? And we know how important airflow is here at Talladega in particular, because that drag coefficient, if you change the body shape at all, it can really hurt it. Taking a look here at Jeff Gordon's car, I mean, just a few laps on the racetrack, about 7 total laps on a lot of these cars, and look like they've already run about 70 laps.
Looks like they brought them straight from Martinsville.
Exactly.
Oh, Halloween weekend off to a scary start already. We mentioned the top 10 quickest here at Talladega.